Hello, Algorators Court is back in session. I'm Al Reynolds, and this is the Court of Public Opinion. I'll be serving as your judge, and you, the viewers, will serve as our jury. The Court of Public Opinion is where you, the people, voice can and will be heard. Be sure to hit that like button. Also, hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, be sure to hit that share button and invite other friends to come enjoy the show. And as always, don't forget to get in down in our comments and get your questions ready so that you can ask our legal beagles. Let me introduce our two legal beagles, one of them being new to the panel, and can't wait to hear what civil attorney Chaton Turner has to say. Chaton Turner, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion.
Thanks, Al. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Second up, we have our entertainment attorney, the lovely Jourdan Williams. Welcome, Jourdan.
Hello, Al. Hello, Algorators. I'm happy to be back.
Absolutely. And we're happy to be back because we were gone for a little while last week. We were dealing with deaths. Jourdan had death in her family. She was traveling. We had a lot of people that were traveling with their kids on vacation. So we're back on track. And we're also incorporating and will be incorporating over the course of the next 2 weeks new lawyers to give us new perspectives and new information and backgrounds as it associates with their specialty. All right, everybody, we have a good show ready for you tonight, and I can't wait to hear what our legal beagles have to say. First up, the dream. The dream has landed in the court of public opinion. And let me tell you, it's so much going on with this. The dream is accused of the R word, but not only of the R word is he accused of, but he's also accused of using the access that he has to Beyonce and Rihanna to abuse his accuser. All right, Attorney Jourdan, you got to tell me, break this down for me right now. What's going on right here? And how did Dream end up in the court of public opinion?
It is such a mess. That complaint is so long. And just so you all know, the Dream's accuser has the same attorney as Cassie has against Diddy. Ooh. So you know it's real. And it also had that same disclaimer of warning, this will be very graphic. And I can tell you it was. So his accuser is a young lady who actually is from the Netherlands. And she lived here in the U.S. because she wanted to pursue her music career. So I think around 21, 22 years old, she actually met the Dream, sent him some of her music. He was supposed to help her build relationships in the industry, help her get a deal, help her produce her album. Well, over time, their relationship became sexual. He began asking, allegedly, according to the complaint, started asking her for sexual favors. And she was wooed by this because he allegedly promised to get her access to Beyonce, even promised that she could open for Beyonce at one point. And the text messages are in the complaint, saying that, oh, I have Rihanna over here in the studio. You need to be working as hard as Rihanna. I can hook you up with her, right? So this is all alleged, obviously, from the accuser's perspective, but essentially she was saying because he actually had relationships with these women, she really believed that he was going to use that to help boost her music career. She's also alleging that he locked her in hotel rooms at times, that he, physically, sexually assaulted her in a movie theater, in other public places, in the Epic Records offices. I mean, it is extremely graphic.
Attorney Williams, let me ask you this, because when I hear these stories, I'm always A, super concerned, and B, for me, I usually always will give the person who was, the women, mostly in these cases, I give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, is this particular case in the complaint, was it going on for a long period of time? Was he sexually assaulting her for a long period of time? When did the R word happen? Was it after a long period of working together? Like, give me a little bit more context so that I can understand a little bit more about how this finally is coming up and out about him using Rihanna and Beyonce to get what he really wanted from her sexually.
Yes, it did happen over the course of several years. And in the complaint, she actually says that a lot of this started in 2015. And at the time, he was actually married, right? So she is thinking that she has a mentor in the industry. He allegedly got her courtside tickets and is taking her to these different industry events. And apparently, they did, as I said before, have a sexual relationship, but then that relationship turned coercive, according to the complaint. So it's like she was kind of, with it, but then she said no. She was setting her boundaries with him. She talks about the fact that he would have his staff watch her, his security detail, and other people on his team watching her, tracking her at all times. And, so I think over the course of their relationship, over the course of several years, he allegedly became more and more controlling. The sexual activity between them became more forceful. So I just think, it sounds like one of those slow burn situations.
All right, Chaton, Attorney Chaton Turner, what are your thoughts about this? Is it possible? Is it possible that this could be retaliation because her career never blossomed? She never got the relationships with Beyonce and Rihanna. And after being in this situation and giving and going to the movies and dealing with all the perversion and the career never blossomed, could it be possible that this is, in fact, revenge?
Well, I mean, anything's possible, but what she's saying is that the dream gave her a nightmare, right? She's saying that this was unwelcome and that at some point her feelings changed and his advances did not. And so I think his problem is going to be in light of those text messages, is to show that, yeah, I never delivered on what I promised. And she still wanted to have sex with me because I was the dream, right? She was in it for a purpose. She wanted her career to blossom, you're right. But when she didn't get it, is it revenge to sue him because he breached his promise? Or instead, is it lawful? I guess the court will tell.
So this is a question, Attorney Turner. What's illegal about promising somebody something hypothetically and not delivering it? Is that against the law?
Well, it is if what you're trading is a sexual relationship, right? The sexual relationship has to be consensual. And so the consent is based on me understanding what I'm going to get. And sometimes it's just love, right? But in this case, for her, it was a career. And so she didn't get it. She didn't get access to Rihanna. She didn't get access to Beyonce. And that was why she was agreeing to have sex with him. We can judge her morals all day long, but in this case, she's saying it was unwanted and you followed me, and so it's an assault.
I also just want to add really quickly, that was a wonderful point, Attorney Turner, that one of the claims actually relates to sex trafficking, right? Something very similar to what we saw in Diddy's complaint, or the complaint against Diddy, I should say. So she's also saying, because not only did he sexually assault me, but he did it in different jurisdictions. Epic Records, who, she had her deal with, that the Dream allegedly negotiated on her behalf, the Dream's own company that he shares with Tricky Stewart actually helped fund these trips that we would take where he would sexually assault me. So she's actually suing all three defendants, right? The two companies and the Dream himself, and saying that sex trafficking is a part of this as well. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out.
This is so sophisticated to me. Huh?
Oh, sorry. I said she's got a good lawyer.
Okay,
because
somebody has a car.
Unfortunately, somebody was driving down the street, and I think it was a whole class of people who were racing. So my bad. But yeah, she's got a good lawyer, because the way you get to those huge verdicts is by having multiple defendants. And so he was genius. He was like, who was paying for the trips? Who was she working for at the time? What can we get? And so now they have the ability either to take it all the way to litigation or to try to settle with each of those. And they have separate insurance and they have separate pockets.
So let me ask you this, because we understand, to make stuff go away, we usually settle. I just want to be very clear, though. At what point does a person take responsibility for putting themselves in situations that are harmful to them over and over and over and over. Is there any accountability, my legal beagles, for doing that?
Is there a potential cross claim? Is that what you're asking?
No, what I'm saying is she said that there were multiple trips that she went on. On those multiple trips, she was constantly being sexually harassed or assaulted. At what point do you, as a person who's gone on multiple trips, say after trip 3 of the same sexual harassment or sexual assault, that you say, hey, I don't want to go on no more trips?
Well, I mean, the Me Too movement actually changed the way that these cases are evaluated. And so I think that you have to look at it in that post lens. Like beforehand, when I used to do this kind of work all the time, that was a very strong defense. Now there seems to be more of a sensitivity to what victims are going through and the coercive nature of these relationships. But I will say that from a defense perspective, if I was putting on my hat defending the dream in those companies, I would say your point is relevant to the aspect of whether or not it was truly unwelcome, right? Because you would say, well, if it's truly unwelcome, then you would have stayed home.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to. Thank you for sharing that with me, Attorney Turner. All right. The dream. I don't know. We're going to see what verdict we give you tonight here in the court of public opinion. But with that tough Attorney Turner, I don't know. You might be going to jail tonight. Okay. Next up, we have Sean Kingston. Oh my goodness. Sean Kingston is back in the court of public opinion. His mother was here earlier, but we found out now he's been extradited back to the state of Florida, and he's being charged with $1 million in fraud. We understand $500,000 from jury, $200 million Bank of America, $100,000 in First Republic, $160,000 at an Escalade dealership. Attorney Chaton Turner, the civil attorney. What are we looking at here, and why is this completely bad news all around for him as well as his mother?
Well, the last story was about sex. Now we're to lies, right? So he has been accused of fraud and taking money and property from these places. And so what they have to show with him and with his mama is that they engaged in this deception to get these things. And I'm curious about what they're going to find, how they got it from the banks. Did they commit something like we've seen with another public figure lately, provide false information to the banks, which resulted in them getting money from those banks? That's going to be very interesting to find out. But this is all about lies. He and his mother are accused of lying in order to obtain these things.
Attorney Williams, Jourdan, I disagree. I think this has a lot to do with learning it from your mother. We found out from court documents that the mother has been doing this for a long time. I think that the mother has been doing this for a long time. I think when her son became a big star and was making a lot of money, they could abandon it for a little while. I think that when his career dried up and the checks weren't checking no more, they went back to what was natural. What say you, Attorney Williams?
I have to agree. When I first read about this, I said, now Sean knows he's wrong. He got his mama down to the jailhouse taking mug shots. That is so trifling, right?
Right.
But then I dug a little deeper and I saw that she actually was found guilty of bank fraud herself. In 2006, she defrauded a bank for $160,000. So it begs the question, is she teaching him the tricks? And I also think, 2006, wasn't that around the time where he had a little buzz? He had that song with Justin Bieber or something like that. I don't understand the thrill of committing fraud, because I'm scared of jail.
Right.
So I don't quite understand exactly what happened. The warrant itself did not list a lot of specifics around what happened outside of the amounts and who was defrauded. But I want to keep an eye on this case because, we talk about Bonnie and Clyde, but we don't see a lot of mother and son
right? Absolutely.
New documentary.
But let me tell you something. This is what we do know about Sean Kingston. Sean Kingston is on probation for these activities in his past. So What's interesting to me was back in 2016 or 17, he was using his access to Justin Bieber to defraud people. Allegedly, that's how he was able to obtain this sound system. But this is the gimme here, right? This is what got me the most. Now they're trying to transfer all these charges into his mother's name because he was on probation. And if he gets any additional charges, he's got to serve time. So to see his mother rack up charges of fraud to buy a $180,000 music system just seems very weird to me. So to me, it appears like she's trying to take some of the heat for her son so that he can stay out of jail. What are your thoughts, Attorney Turner?
It just shows the depths of a mother's love, I guess. How far would you go for your kid? I have a thing that I don't want to find out if they have an orange jumpsuit in my size at the jail, but other people feel differently. The fact that they're both involved in this, I think, does not bode well for that family right now. And we'll see. I'm going to follow this case just like Attorney Jourdan said she was going to, because there's some interesting aspects to it.
Oh, all right, everybody. We got some good tea tonight. All right. So if you're enjoying the show tonight, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the share if you are subscribed, and come on in here with the comments and get your questions ready for the attorneys, because we're going to get to that section shortly. Now, we know in order to support the incredible entertainment lawyer, Jourdan Williams, we're putting blue hearts in the chat. Now we've got to figure out an emoji for our new legal beagle, civil attorney Chaton Turner. Chaton, what do you think you want your emoji to be so that we can make sure that our algorithms and everybody else who's watching the show adds to the chat these particular? So mine is a fax machine because I always come with the facts. Jourdan's are blue hearts. The other ones have briefcase. So what would you like your emoji to be?
I'd like my emoji to be fire.
Oh, you bringing the fire. All right, everybody. Everybody that's on tonight and watching the show, put some fire. Put those flames in the chat for the hot civil attorney, Chaton Turner. All right, let's keep it moving, everybody. Speaking of hot and doing too much, Kanye West. Oh my goodness, can we keep him out of the court of public opinion? Kanye West is back in the court of public opinion. And let me tell you, it's with a lady that has an OF account, or used to, that he paid her $1 million to get rid of it. Now, this is the interesting part. This person now, who he elected to be her chief of staff and paying her $4 million, was booted. She was fired. And now she's asking for money for being wrongfully terminated, a hostile work environment, as well as sexual harassment. Attorney Williams, can you please break down this case for us tonight?
It's very disgusting. I'm sorry, y'all. But this is what she's alleging. She's saying that not only would he call her while he was, what do the kids call it these days? Choking chickens.
Oh.
Jerking off. Masturbation.
That's right. So he's calling his chief of staff doing this. Apparently, in a flight to Paris, he sat beside her and masturbated as he sat next to her. She also says that before any other sexual encounters with other women, she was supposed to bring him some kind of honey, some kind of sexual honey. I don't want to know anything about that. She's also saying that, over time, he just became more demanding. He talked a lot about her boyfriend's penis size, which is quite strange. He told her about his sexual fantasies, about how he wanted to, have sexual relations with a woman and then have her go cheat on him. He's into some really kinky stuff, okay? But should your chief of staff be subject to that kind of sexual harassment in the workplace? Even if you are Kanye West, that is a bridge too far.
Now, let me ask you this, Attorney Chaton Turner. Now, we know that all the time that this was going on, he had started the Sunday sermons. So he was supposed to be dedicated to God. In addition, he opened up his Dondra school, which, there was supposed to be incorporation to understanding God. He wrote one of his songs about Jesus. And the whole time, he's interviewing women who have OF accounts, who he's paying them to take them off and then paying them $4 million to be his assistant, and only for us to find out now, Dondra Academy, boo, Sunday sermon, goodbye, porn industry, here I come. Is this anything positive as it relates to taking this into the courthouse? And would any judge, would any jury not believe what this woman is telling us based on his behavior that is highly documented?
Well, I mean, I guess what we've learned from this case is Jesus walks and Kanye masturbates, right? But but as it relates to the judge and the evaluation of this case, we have to remember that just because Kanye has shifted his professional focus from gospel to porn does not de facto mean that he engaged in sexual harassment, right? She has to show that this was unwelcome and that it was severe and pervasive and that it created a hostile or abusive environment for her. Now, one of the things that I think is quite interesting is I don't know what qualifications she had on her OF account, but you know, who knew that that was a prerequisite for becoming a chief of staff? I mean, right now you talked about her getting $5 million. And so Kanye appears to be her gravy train. So I think that may be a weakness in her case, but this is just so nasty, as Attorney Williams pointed out, that I think that's going to be Kanye's biggest barrier, is that in the workplace, unless he was employing her as a porn star, is that really a essential function for anybody's job?
Oh, gotcha. Okay, Attorney Williams, help me understand this though. Would you, in prosecuting this and pushing this forward in the court, would you pull on all the other allegations of hostile work environment? He has 4 cases of hostile work environment. This hostile work environment claim just happens to have a very sexual undertone to it. But we know that his other male chiefs of staff was fired from Dondra. We know that there was a security guard who wouldn't cut his hair braids. Hostile work environment, fired. You know, he has such a history of what they all said is the creation of a hostile work environment, and that he wrongfully terminated them because they wouldn't do what he said. Does that have any type of precedence or help in this woman's case now that it's a new case? Only thing she's adding new to it is the sexual harassment.
I absolutely would reference those past incidents to say this man really has a problem, right? She may say, I thought he was changed. You know, he did do his little PR thing where he said he changed, and you know, he's no longer with Trump and blah 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 blah, right? So if I were in her shoes, I quite frankly would say, hey, I thought that he was turning things around. That's why I came on board, to help him turn things around. And turns out he was the same person. I was subject to the same abuse that other employees have alleged. Now, one thing I will say with the wrongful termination claim, that's a little fuzzy to me. Kanye has actually responded to that claim through his publicist to say she simply was unqualified to be his chief of staff, which with her resume, I can't disagree. However, I think for her, you know, you're in a state where you can fire someone and you don't really need a reason. Now, the reason obviously cannot be discriminatory. That's illegal. But to say that she simply was unqualified, you know, we brought her in thinking that she could do the job of a chief of staff, and it turned out that she couldn't. He's well within his rights to do that.
Well, you know, I got to tell you, I don't agree. I think when you hire an OF model, what are you expecting her to chief a staff of? I think he thought that he was going to be able to use her as his little side situation. And when she was not interested in that, he wanted her gone. And he offered her to leave a $3 million severance. If you knew that she did not have any of the skill sets to be a chief of staff, why are you offering her $3 million to leave? The math ain't mathing, counselors. The math ain't mathing. And the fact that you want her to travel with you So, and talk to you on the phone so that you can have what she claims to be very vulgar and disgusting sessions while you're sitting there jacking your rabbit. What chief of staff can't qualify for that?
Well, I mean, but the thing is, to play devil's advocate a little bit, right? Job descriptions are personalized based on the employer, right? So going to Jourdan's point about his history and him doing odd things in the workplace and her resume, it is quite possible that her job as chief of staff was to help him get an erection so he could perform what he was performing. And when
Order in my court. Order in my court, Miss Attorney Turner. How dare you? How dare you bring? Oh! Order in my court. That is absolutely clever as hell. But we are not accepting it in this court. What I think I would do, right? If I was the attorney of the young lady, is I would request her hiring documents. I would request her roles and responsibilities that she got hired for that $3 million job. All right, everybody, that's going to conclude tonight's court of public opinion. However, we're going to get to a couple of questions before we get to the verdict, starting off first with Billy Little. Billy Littles, thank you so much for always supporting us through thick and thin. All right, Billy Little's question, attorneys, is if she was sleeping with him based on the assumption she would get a career, does that make her a sex worker? Attorney Turner.
Not necessarily, right? So sex workers get money in exchange for sex, and it's a very explicit transaction, unlawful in most states, right? But in this case, what she would be arguing is it's quite clever, actually. So quid pro quo means I do this for you, I get that. So she would be saying that she was the victim if that was the kind of claim she was making. So just because she was sleeping her way to the top does not make her a sex worker. You might have other moral judgments about her, but it doesn't make her a sex worker.
But hold on, Attorney Williams, didn't the attorney that represented Cassie, representing her, didn't he enter into the complaint a sex worker claim?
You mean into Cassie's complaint?
No, into this particular claim. The young lady here, right, the model, isn't her attorney the same attorney as Cassie's a lawyer?
Yeah. Okay,
in this complaint, didn't she also mention something about sex trafficking?
Right. Yes, but okay, so I got what you're saying. So yes, she is accusing him of sex trafficking.
Right.
What sex trafficking means is you coerced someone into sex across state lines, right? In multiple jurisdictions. She maybe could be a sex worker if she was okay with it, right? But a lot of times, particularly in non-celebrity related sex trafficking cases, we're talking about very vulnerable people who were coerced because maybe they were starved, maybe they were kept away from their families, right? Sex worker in and of itself inherently means that there is some sort of consent, some sort of, you weren't forced into it. No one, coerced you because they were holding something over your head. So that's the difference here. I would not call her a sex worker because, one, she's not calling herself that, right? It's very clear to me that she felt very taken advantage of. And as I said earlier, the sex got, progressively, as she says, more physically painful for her, more coercive. So it's not a matter of, sex work. It's a matter of she's actually saying, you trafficked me, you took me from this state to this state to this state and forced me to do these acts.
And that's illegal.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. All right, let's keep going. DeMonte H is loving some Attorney Turner. He says Attorney Turner is sharp and thorough. All right. And he also said Attorney Turner is sharp and thorough. And I love how she explains things. Me too, DeMonte. As the judge, I love it when they break it down so that I can understand. All right. Val Rice said, happy Wednesday, everyone. Didn't know there was a live tonight. Yeah, we apologize. It was not, for some reason, our social team did not post it until 7 minutes out. We promise to do better. All right. Ronnie TV says, does nepotism extend to mistresses? Not sure I understand that, but let's go to Turner. She seems to have her finger on.
Yeah, I think the question, so nepotism is a concept that relates to doing favoritism for people who are related to you. Legally, mistresses are not related to people, well, unless we're going down a whole different rabbit hole of legal claims. But favoritism does. So maybe the question's designed to say, are bosses allowed to benefit people with whom they're having sexual relationships with? And that was the point that I was making about the quid pro quo. That's unlawful. If the boss is saying, sleep with me and I'll do you this favor, then that's unlawful.
Got it. So maybe that I feel like that's an offshoot. I feel like that's the underbelly of this case. I think she clearly thought that there were going to be bigger rewards. And because she wasn't willing to do certain things at his behest, then he wanted her gone, because she didn't stay as his chief of staff very long, right? I think when she thought that those phone calls were gross and she thought that him constantly asking about her boyfriend's penis size felt awkward, she was like, okay, what can I do with this? And she actually probably thought she could still stay as his chief of staff. Like, chick, no, that's not what you were hired for. All right, everybody, that concludes, our Q&A. Let's go into surrendering our verdicts. All right, first up, and this is how it works, Attorney Turner. What we do is we go back over the stories that we covered, and we decide if those defendants are guilty or not guilty as it relates to the court of public opinion. All right, so Chaton said that she wants her emoji to be flames. So we all got her flames. All right, got it. Here we go. First up, the Dream. Is the Dream guilty or not guilty of using Beyonce and Rihanna in order to get his rocks off with the accuser who said that he not only did that, but that he did the R word? All right, Attorney Turner, is the Dream guilty or not guilty?
Dream's guilty.
All right, Attorney Williams, is the Dream guilty or not guilty?
Well, after having read the text in the complaint that he sent her, he's guilty.
All right, in the court of public opinion, Al Reynolds being a judge, we're going to find the Dream guilty. Guilty on many levels. How dare you use Beyonce and Rihanna to get you a little play from someone? That's illegal, sir. And also, you're not allowed to sexually harass or take cookies from somebody that didn't want you to have them. Next up, Sean Kingston. Sean Kingston, my goodness, has this long history of fraud. And this time, he's been extradited back to Miami. Attorney Williams, is Sean Kingston guilty or not guilty of fraud?
Sean Kingston is definitely guilty. Okay, him and his mama. And I say now, what if they want to scam? They need to scam into making this a documentary or a reality show and stay out of jail.
Oh, good point, Attorney Chaton Turner. Is Sean Kingston guilty or not guilty?
Well, his past aggressions should not be used against him in this case, but I have to say, having he and his mother involved in this, he's guilty.
All right, in the court of public opinion, Al Reynolds, the judge, I'm going to find Sean Kingston guilty, and I'm going to find his mama Kingston guilty. Report to jail immediately. Both of you are guilty, especially when you have a long history of fraud. Fraud for what reason? I don't understand. Instead of renting all of these mansions, downsize to a 2-bedroom apartment and live your life within your means. All right, last up, Kanye West. Kanye West, back in the court of public opinion. Is Kanye West guilty or not guilty for wrongful termination, hostile work environment, and sexual harassment? Let's start with you, Attorney Turner.
Well, he's guilty of wearing that hairstyle, but I would have to say that under these circumstances, Kanye is guilty. It's just nasty.
All right, Attorney Williams, what do you say? What say you?
I remember when Kenya Moore told us that he was a freak when she went to his house, and it's the same story now. So he is guilty. He needs to break that habit.
All right. In the court of public opinion, Al Reynolds, the judge, is going to find Kanye West guilty of wrongful termination, guilty of hostile work environment, but I'm not going to find him guilty. I'm going to say not guilty for sexual harassment because I think Miss OF model knew exactly what she was signing up for. All right, everybody, that concludes today's session of the court and public opinion. I hope that you enjoyed our new session and our new legal beagle, civil attorney Chaton Turner. Be sure to leave comments. Also, be sure to hit that like button because the likes ain't liking. Also, hit that subscribe button. Invite others to join. And everyone have a good night. Court of Public Opinion has been adjourned.